where we will be and are making the big announcement of the show at the O2 Arena on July the 13th, and also plans for the future for Joyce. Ringstar and Richard Schaefer involved as well in the promotion, and Joe, well, there was talk of him fighting Daniel Dubois, but instead he's going to be going a different direction, at least for the time being. And first, though, that big fight against Alexander Ustinov in Stevenage on the 15th. Frank Warren.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for joining us. Yes, first of all, Joe's got that fight on the 18th of May at Stevenage, where he's the main support to Billy Joe Saunders' WBO World Championship fight. He's got to fight Ustinov first, and that's what he's focused on. I'm not speaking for him. I'm quite sure that would be the position. And he's got to get through that fight. If he comes through that fight okay, he will then fight on the same show on the 13th of July at the O2 as the British heavyweight title fight, which we'll talk about in a moment. What happened was the British Boxing Board of Control put out the fight between Joe and Daniel. Having spoken with Sam and the team and Adam Morley and Ricky, it was decided by them that, and I can absolutely see where they're coming from, that they were looking at the position they were in and the opportunity they have in the moment, which is to fight Ajit Cabello for the European title. He's Joey's number one challenger to him. We have been in discussions with him, and if we can't agree terms, I'm quite sure that'll go to purse bid. And he's also the number one challenger to the WBA, one of the WBA champions, Manuel Char, who's got a fight quite soon, and the winner of that has also been ordered to defend against Joe. So that was his decision. He will fight, provided he comes against Ustinov, a world-ranked fighter, on the 13th of July, as I've said. So we're delighted here. He's with us. We're delighted that we're working with Richard Schaefer and Ringstar in promoting him in the future.
Cabello, undefeated in 19 fights, German-based, and a dangerous man.
He is. He's had 19 fights and knocked out 13 of his opponents. It's a tough fight. You've got to remember with Joe, he's only had 8 fights as a pro. He's obviously got a distinguished amateur record, fought in World Amateur Championships, Commonwealth Games, and obviously he won the silver medal in the Olympic Games. So, but that still doesn't give you the experience you need at heavyweight. So with those 8 fights, he's done brilliantly. He's fought some decent guys and come through the fights. And I'm using his words. He says he's 33 years of age. He's not looking to hang around. He just wants to get into the big fights as soon as possible. And you have to admire him for that. That's what he wants, and that's what he intends to do.
Before we hear from Joe, let's hear from Sam Jones, who's his manager. And you've taken the decision to look towards the WBA regular title, as Frank says, and also the European title. Just, sort of put us through the thought processes and the talks that you've had to lead you to the decision to take that route.
Well, I think the fight with Daniel or Nathan is always going to be there for Joe. But right now, Joe would lose his mandatory slot with the European if he took the fight with Daniel. And he's mandatory for Manuel Char's WBA regular title. So that's the route we want to go down. We want to fight Ajit Cabello, Manuel Char, or even Derek Chisora. I know he's looking for an opponent. That's the route we want to go down.
What about being based back here at home, Joe? How are you enjoying going through the preparations? I hear you've got a new flat and you're enjoying settling down back here in the London area.
Oh yes, really great to be back. I'm settled. I've got a flat which is like 15 minutes from the gym. It's near Adam Booth, where we do our second session in his house, and on the treadmill and stuff like that. They got the Versa and that. So it's really great to be part of a vibrant gym and a really great team, and really like working on some new things. So hopefully I'll be a lot more agile and quicker for this fight against Ustinov.
Yeah, what's your thoughts on that fight? Because one thing you can say about him is that he's getting on now, but he's heavy-handed and he's durable, to say the least.
Oh,
Tough guy.
He's a big old boy, so I'm going to have to, he's got very good experience and he's a big, powerful heavyweight, so you have to be careful on my guard, and I'm sure he can take a lot of sticks, so I need to really put it on him.
You've got an opportunity to really make a statement. I know it's a kind of a boxing cliche, isn't it? But you can really make people sit up and take notice.
Well, yeah, that's what I've been doing since I started my career, because I've, had to get a move on, really, and, strategically, my trajectory is like really steep, so, I'll have this fight, and then I've got a massive fight in July, which, I'm preparing for, but obviously not overlooking Ustinov, because he's going to be a test. So
what's it going to mean to you to get out in front of British fight fans again, to be back here in Stevenage in the open air and on a big bill?
Oh, it's massive. To be on the undercard of Billy Joe, it's in Stevenage. It's going to be. I could just imagine like the crowd in that football stadium, and I look forward to it. I've only boxed in London, so it's quite nice to be to box around England. So it's good to be back. And
good, I would imagine. You look at the pictures that they've set up for us here in the studio with yourself, Daniel, and Nathan. I mean, it's. I
look a bit hairy.
you do actually.
Keen on that picture.
Good chest wig. How exciting is it to be a part of a real buzzing British heavyweight scene?
Oh, it's massive. That that card in July is going to have 3 of us. So it's good. All the heavyweights seem to be from the UK these days. So and all the best ones. So it's taken over.
Frank, if the European title or the WBA title can't be reached immediately, there are other names who you could go looking for, I guess.
There are other possibilities, but it will be a world-ranked opponent. It won't be Char, and I doubt if it'll be the European champion in that period of time. But the worst case scenario, it will be a world-ranked opponent, somebody ranked in the top 10 or 15.
Can you throw a possible name at us, or is it too soon?
I could throw 10 or 15 names at you who are ranked in those days. Till it's signed, it don't mean nothing.
True. Joe, who would you fancy potentially? I mean, do you think that you're almost at the point where you're ready to step up against the really big boys?
Yeah, obviously the top 10, as Frank mentioned. I was hoping Caballero and Char or Chisora. There's plenty of names out there. Takan and
Chisora certainly. Derek's certainly spoken about the possibility of fighting you in the past.
Not for the money he wants.
Yeah.
There's 2 ways to fight people. 2 ways to get out of fights. One to say you don't want the fight, and the other one is to price yourself out of it.
And I guess that's what he's done.
He's done.
Yeah.
And what about these fellas sitting here now, Daniel and Nathan? What about maybe sharing a ring with them?
Well, yeah, we'll see how they get on, and I'll take the winner down the line. I mean, that option's always open. We're on the same network and that, so I'm sure it'll be easy to make.
Frank, your thoughts about that?
They will happen. I mean, we have no problem in making the fights what the fans want to see, and the fights that the boxers want, and we will do that. But first of all, Daniel and Nathan got a real tough fight on the 13th, and see how that pans out. But there's no doubt about it that the winner will be there. We're in a position now where these guys got to capitalise on what's happening in America. For the next couple of fights at least, Tyson's going to be based there, and broadening his brand on ESPN Plus. Obviously, Anthony Joshua's out there, and he's fighting in June. And then you've got Deontay Wilder, who's obviously a Yank, and he's based there. So all those guys fight. Fights are shown in the UK at 4, 5 o'clock in the morning. This is the next generation. These are the next guys who are coming through. These are the guys that in 12 months' time will be fighting one of these, or maybe 2 out of the 3 will be fighting. It's not the end of the world for a loser. one of them will lose, but it's not the end of the world for them. But they're young, they can come again, they're obviously very good quality heavyweights, and I think they're the three best, not just in this country. I think they're the three best young heavyweights, or three best heavyweights in the world, the next level above world championship level, and they're not frightened of challenges. And the people said to me, "How come you're letting this fight take? Why are you letting those two guys fight?" Well, we'll explain that when they both get up here, but. As I say, it's about delivering the fights. They want the fights, we've delivered them, and it's about making the future fights. BT and Queensberry, myself, we're committed to bringing and making these big fights happen.
With the promotional tie-in with Top Rank, and of course the fact that you've been involved with the rebirth, if you like, of Tyson Fury, how easy or otherwise would it be for one of these guys to, in theory, move on to fight Tyson, if not this year, maybe next year?
Well, Tyson's eventually going to come back here. He's going to come back in the UK. He's going to have fights in the UK. He's not left the UK. And when he comes back, there are some great domestic fights to be made when he comes back with one of the belts. When he gets back and he's got the belt, they're great fights to make. Great fights to be made. These guys are coming through. They're fighting regularly. And as I say, they're the next generation. So we're working all towards these guys being in position where they challenge for the world title next year.
And that would be something you'd welcome, Joe?
Oh yes, definitely welcome a shot like that. I'm just working my way through, and there's some big fights out there up the top. Okay,
well, the fights, of course, that we look forward to seeing. We're going to be hearing from the two lads who are going to be fighting for the British title on July the 13th. But before then, you'll have opportunities after we've finished everything to do one-on-ones with Joe and the other guys. But any questions from the floor for Joe or his manager, Sam? Anybody for anybody?
There.
Yeah.
How much did
Chisora want for the fight?
7 figures.
7.
Yeah. And that's not pounds and pence, that's pounds.
A lot of money.
Sterling.
Which is unrealistic.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Anybody else? Yes.
Joe, who do you fancy fighting in July 13th?
Well, I'll have to leave it up to Frank and my management to sort that out. But who I would like, obviously Manuel Char for the WBA regular would be ideal. Or Caballero for the European.
Any thoughts on that one, Sam? Any assuming those two aren't available, where would
there's not a lot of available right now in the heavyweights. You've got Rivas fighting Dylan White. I think Kaunaki's scheduled to fight Helenius.
Yeah.
I think Kaunaki's scheduled to fight Helenius. Ortiz has been promised the Wilder fight.
Povetkin?
Yeah, that's a name Joe would fight. Joe's openly said he'd fight Povetkin. That's not a problem. You have to beat these guys if you're going to be a world champion. So why not?
Any more? Yes.
Joe said who he thinks would win out of Daniel and
No comment, Joe.
Well, it's a 50-50 fight. I've seen them sparring on the GB team, and they're quite. It's a good match-up, and I look forward to it. It's going to be explosive, and it'd be good to see who the number one is out of them two. I'm sitting on the fence here.
Got a sore ass.
What did that rivalry used to be like when you saw them, working together in the GB setup? Were there some fiery moments?
Yeah, I think there's obviously a massive rivalry. It's it's difficult when you're on the squad and there's someone your weight. I mean, either you're like kind of friends with them, but you're going to fight, or like they're kind of like a bit more of a rivalry and animosity. You can see. So.
And could you see that between those two?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, it's going to be tasty.
Any more, guys?
Good.
Right. Well, thank you very much. and we'll ask these lads to move on, and we will continue with our heavyweight title fight for the 13th of July. Move on to the big fight on the 13th of July, which is going to be Nathan against Daniel for the British heavyweight title. Frank, it's been a little bit of time in the making. Some people are saying, why are you taking it so soon? Why is it happening?
Well, it weren't the making of me. What happened was that the Border Control, British Boxing Border Control, put out the fight between Joe and Daniel for the vacant British title, and we've heard what the position is with Joe and what he wishes to do. So the next man in was Nathan. This was a fight I was talking we would like to put on sometime in December. Spoke to both the guys. Neither of them wanted to withdraw from it, so they made the fight.
It's kind of a throwback, isn't it? You know, you look at some of the great heavyweight title fights that we've seen. You remember back to Lennox against... when he took the title, you've got Lennox Lewis when he was fighting. You've got Henry Cooper before then. You've got more recently Anthony Joshua, Dillian White. There've been some fantastic, scraps.
There's nothing better than watching two British heavyweights at their best, especially these young heavyweights, in the ring together. But I think when you go back to the past, these fights would not have happened after. One's had 11 fights and the other one's only had 16. It happened later on in their careers, and they're two exciting young talents. And I said earlier, I believe that they're the next generation. These are the next generation. They've got a chance to make a statement. One of them was obviously going to get beat unless it's a draw. But the fact of the matter is, it's not the end of the world for the loser. Derek Chisora has shown what losers can do. I don't mean continue losing. I mean, they can still come good again, and I'm quite confident whoever loses this fight will come back. And they're setting themselves up for what happens, as I mentioned earlier, in America. You know, when Tyson comes back, Joshua comes back, these guys are going to be there or thereabouts. They're going to be great fights for the British public to see. You know, they are quality heavyweights. They've got great knockout ratios. They've got two different styles. You know, Daniels has been learning under his trainer, who's done a fantastic job with him, Martin Bowers. They've really gelled well together, and he's improving every fight and learning every fight. And Nathan, who came to us, I think it was after about eight fights or 7 or 8 fights. He's gone from strength to strength. He's lost weight. He's absolutely mobile. He's got great variety. Sorry, Nathan's lost weight, and you can ask him to train you, Rick.
And the world will be watching, Frank, as well, won't it? You know,
the world will be, look, it's a fight, isn't it? It's what it says. Heavy duty night. These are heavyweights. You know, young heavyweights at their best. They're going to get better, but this is just what boxing's all about. The best in with the best. You know, they both got tremendous self-belief. They both believe they got the beating of each other. So on the night, we're going to find out. But one thing's for sure, the fans are going to get a great fight and they're going to benefit from this. This is like throwback stuff. This is going to be a great heavyweight fight.
And it's one of those fights where it's so difficult to pick a winner. I mentioned Lennox Lewis and Gary Mason. You know, back in the 90s, a lot of people thought that Mason was going to win that fight. Didn't do so. Yeah. And of course, the Anthony Joshua fight, Dillian White had beaten him as an amateur. Was he going to be able to repeat it? It's a pick and fight. And the fact that people are saying, do you fancy Nathan to win it? Do you fancy Daniel to win it? That's kind of what a heavyweight title fight should be all about.
It is. And, you know, on paper, the bookmakers are obviously decide who's going to be favourite, or if indeed there is a favourite. But there is a case for both of them. And as I say, it's the contrasting styles. But on the nights, it's who works out the other guy's style, who gets there. I don't think it's a fight that's going to go the distance. I think, you know, that fight, something will happen explosive in there. There's no doubt about that between it. They're two big punchers. They're two fantastic young heavyweights.
Well, before we hear from the two lads, let's hear from Tony, Daniel's manager, and from Ricky. Let's start. You need to pick your microphone up. First of all, so far as Daniel's concerned, you've decided or said, yep, we'll take this fight, we'll take it now. How confident are you?
We're very confident. Daniel works extremely hard. When he was on the squad, he was only a young man. He was 18 then. He's maturing all the time. We can see him growing in every angle, you know, in his ability, in his power, his strength, and his speed. He's becoming the full package.
How do you think he's matured the most? I'll tell you what impresses me about him is the way in which he handles the big occasion.
Oh yeah, Daniel's cool as a cucumber. He never, nothing ever flusters him at all. You know, we're all more anxious than he is. He's just sails all the way through it.
And easy to work with?
Very easy to work with, because there's no task that he won't take on and achieve. So we're looking forward to it.
Well, let's hear from Ricky, who's worked with Nathan from word go. How ready is your man for this?
Yeah, very ready. I think we're talking about earlier there that fights like this don't normally happen after the amount of fights that the lads have had. But I think boxing's changed, a lot. You know, the days where you could build a fight up for 3 years, I don't think it exists anymore. I think that's due to television, public demand, and basically I think down to the boxers, they want it. You know what I mean? You've got to get the boxers nowadays, are changing our sport in the fact that they want to fight the best. I mean, it wasn't so long ago where we had fighters would win a world title and then go and make 12, mediocre basic defences. But now the fighters, the best are getting in there with each other now, and you've got to take, your hat off to Nathan and Daniel for accepting this fight so early in the careers. Yeah.
What's this lad like to work with? We've heard from Daniel's perspective what he's like as a fighter. You're with him on a day-to-day basis and involved in the building of his career. How's he been to work with over the months and years?
Been a pleasure to work with. You always, when you go in, as a trainer, you hope that someone walks through the door like Nathan, and when he walked through the door, he was 18, 19 years of age. He'd had 7 fights to his name and just looked like he'd been doing it for years, you know what I mean? And, the good thing is he's improving all the time. He's got, an unbelievable talent, great hand speed. And he's also, he can fight in the pocket, which, under no illusions, he's going to have to show that he can fight in the pocket, because Daniel will make him do so. And the only time, sometimes he's boxed and against opponents that have not tried to survive, if you like. And I think Nathan has been happy in the past to jab and move and look good and with a points win. But the 2 opponents that have put it on him have been his best performances, with Sokolowski in his 3rd fight, which I think you'll agree that to take him on in a 3rd fight is a good ask, and he knocked him out, I think, in the 3rd round, and then Sean Turner. And I appreciate Daniel is a bigger test than Turner and Sokolowski, but I think that's the side of the game. They know he can box, they know he's got the ability, they know he's got the speed, but I don't think they're prepared for how he can sit and fight up close, and he's going to have to show that in this fight, because I think the majority of the fight, that's where it will be.
How much has it bugged Daniel hearing again and again, Nathan Gorman this, Nathan Gorman that, can you do this, can you do that? How much is he actually itching for the chance to get in there now and do it?
Well, Daniel's a fighter who just fights on the night. He ain't worried about what Nathan says about him. He laughs it off. But he is going to put the record straight.
In what way?
In the way of, if Daniel ain't fast, the little slurs that are said about him, Daniel's going to put them right. And he wants to. And
so far as Nathan's concerned, do you get the impression that he wants to put this away now and just let's get in there and prove it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to be honest, Nathan wanted the fight from the second he turned pro. And I don't know, as they mentioned there, when they were on the GB squad, was there a bit of rivalry? And obviously, that's something I don't know. But I mean, the fact that he only seemed interested in one fight from the minute he walked through my door, and so I don't need to motivate him, from that point of view. I think it was pretty clear from day one. But it's going to be a very, very tough fight, and I think the one who carries the game plan out and listens, I think will win. And He's a very, very clever boxer. He's a very, very clever boxer, and he's got to use that boxing brain, ability, speed, along with some bad intentions along the way. And I'd like to think that'll be good enough.
Daniel, how much are you looking forward to getting into the ring now and talking finishes, and you get in there now and show what you can do?
Definitely, I'm looking forward to it. There's been a lot of talk about this fight. There's been a lot of talk about this fight, and there'll be plenty of attention and everything. But I think that Nathan's going to be my easiest fight so far. And after I've gotten Nathan out of the way, I'll go after Joe Joyce, and whoever else is there. But yeah, I'm feeling really good.
Why do you say easy?
Oh, I think I've got in my arsenal. There's so much potential, and really, I'm feeling really good. And I've been through my test. My last fight, it was a test, and I think it strengthened me, and it's added to my experience, and I feel ready.
What do you remember of all those times you sparred together on the GB squad? We've heard a little bit about the rivalry, and Joe Joyce suggested there was always a bit of an edge between you. Do you remember that?
Not really. To be honest, all I really wanted to do at the time was just, every other amateur boxer in the country wanted to be in the GB squad, and really getting on there and finding out where I was going to go next and why I was on the squad. Was I going to be able to go to the Olympics? Who's in my way and everything? But it's all a blur now, and that's in the past.
Well, Nathan, Daniel's not got a very clear memory of how things went on in those training sessions. What's your memory of that time with the GB squad, and how much are you looking forward now to getting in and actually have the chance to fight for the title?
Oh, I can remember it very, very well, John, to be totally honest with you. Like you said before, I was on the GB team 2 years, maybe 3 years coming up, and we'd done 300 rounds together. And to be fair, mate, in my opinion, I don't think I dropped one, and he's saying that he thinks I'm his easiest fight to date. I beg to differ. I bring a lot more than all the other opponents where he's fought. I'm a lot different calibre of a fighter. I'm there to win and do the job. Their ambition, no disrespect to them, John, they just want to get the payday and go home. Mine isn't that. Mine's the victory. I want to be the British heavyweight champion.
Is that just talk when he says it's going to be his easiest day? How do you react hearing that?
I don't know. If that's his motivation, fair play to you. But I'm not his easiest fight today, and he knows it.
Daniel, he's a mover, isn't he? He's slippery. Is that going to be a problem?
Not at all. Not at all. I know. I've got what it takes to deal with him, and I'll do it. Handily, pretty easy, and I can't wait to fight now. I'm in the process of getting ready. Got long weeks ahead of hard work, and yeah, let's get it on.
What about the talk in the run-up to it? He's said that he's going to do this, he's going to do that, and you've just heard there that you've not really fought anybody who's been coming to you with a distinct desire to win. He's different. Do you recognise that?
Not at all, really. It's like this. Be careful what you wish for. And I'm here now, and I'm ready to do the work and get the job done.
Be careful what you wish for.
Well, I've been wishing for this fight. I'm praying for this fight to come, so it's here, John. I've been wanting this fight, like Ricky said, since word go. And when it does come, I totally agree with what Frank said. This isn't going to points victory. I've been working a lot in the gym. I'm sitting in the pocket, sitting down on my shots, and I don't expect this to go to points victory. In my mind, I'm training for the knockout.
Do you think you're underestimated as a puncher?
Massively. I'm probably the underdog going into this fight. Probably all the media, all the boxing fans will probably have Daniel ahead of me. Probably say, "Oh, I'll get knocked out within a couple of rounds." But I don't think that. We'll soon see. Come July the 13th.
Is it an oversimplification to say it's the big puncher, the big strong man against the guy who's more of the boxer?
Yeah. Well, I want to answer your question there. It's called boxing for a reason, isn't it? If it was for strong people, strongman's a competition. Boxing's boxing. The best all-round greats. What have they been? Boxers. And I fully believe I've got a boxing brain. I know I've got a boxing brain, and what I do will beat Daniel.
Daniel, is your boxing brain underrated? Do you think? Do you think people see you as a big puncher and don't recognise your boxing skills?
To be honest, I don't really care what people think. I've just so far in my career, I've had to show different skills I have. You know, my speed, my power, my boxing, and if I didn't, I wouldn't be here right now. But you know, I've had to it's been a lot of hard work, and I know I got what it takes.
What would it mean to you to get the famous old belt, to follow in the likes of Cooper, of Lewis, of Joshua? You know, you're going to be potentially taking the title and be a name to rank alongside them.
You know, definitely that'll go in the record books, and that'll be there for all time. You know, and it's another step to going towards a world title and being at the top of the division.
And what would it mean to you, Nathan, to get that Lonsdale belt?
Massive, you know, John. Like you said before, you mentioned some great names there who's held the belt before me. And for a boy, you know, 22 years of age, top in the O2 Arena and winning the belt, it'll be probably the most remarkable night of my life. So it's a massive thing for me.
Tickets go on sale tomorrow, Frank, and it's one which it can't really fail. This one.
There'll be a sellout. Sorry, it will be a sellout. There's no doubt about that. And you better get your tickets. Get them quickly. They're from AX, Ticketmaster, and Eventum. So get them as quick as you can. As you say, they're on sale tomorrow. This is going to be a special night. These two guys, Joyce, hopefully in a big fight against a world-ranked opponent, and we will have another few really good quality fights on the undercard.
Well, it's one that we're all looking forward to massively. You're going to be able to watch it on BT Sport, and you'll have the opportunity to interview all concerned in a moment or two. But before then, the floor is yours. Shout up any questions, anybody.
Yeah, it's a question for both fighters. Ricky mentioned a rivalry you had in the amateurs. Can you talk a bit about that?
Should I take this one? Yeah. Like Joe said previously, when you're in the same category as someone, me and Daniel, they're both super heavyweights on the podium potential squad. You couldn't be friends, and to be fair, no disrespect, we couldn't get along anyway. So there was always a rivalry from day one, whether it be the running, the sparring, the bag work, everything. You know, we had to beat each other. It was very, very competitive.
Daniel?
Well, there was no real rivalry. It was sparring with sparring, and for me, I can speak for myself. You know, in my point of view, it was just where I was at, and to be honest, to progress, I needed to impress the coaches and everything, and show them that I was a better athlete, and you know, obviously, I went on and kept on, and I proved that.
Do you get on with him?
Who?
Do you get on with Nathan?
I don't get on. That's a silly question, but you know, it is what it is. It's we're in the game, we're in the hurt business, and that's what I look forward to doing come fight night.
And this is to both Nathan and Ricky. Frank's obviously been putting a lot into Daniel's career. Do you feel almost like Daniel's the house fighter on this occasion?
Yeah, listen, Daniel's been with Frank since day one. You know, probably he's the golden goose. I don't know, but I come with Frank. I think it was my ninth pro fight. Ricky and Frank done a deal, and I've been with him every second of the way. But on July the 13th, you know, he'll have the number one boy.
Ricky, do you agree with that? That Daniel is the house fighter?
I think so. You know, just the simple. He's been getting the air coverage, you know, whether it be TV or the press write-ups, and rightly so. And bearing in mind they were rivals, as we've all been discussing on the GB squad, I think that's pissed Nathan off a little bit. I think that's why he's got the B between his mouth, you know. And I said from day one, I said, listen, you've got to be patient. You know, your time will come. You know, it's for a fight for the future, for further down the line. He said, yeah, but you know, why has he got to change his own changing room and I haven't? And why have we got and stuff like that? You know, in the early fights. And I said, well, you know, there's only one chance you're going to get is if you when you fight each other, you beat him and you put it right. That's the only way you can look at it. That's the only way any of you, you know, can look at it. You know, and I think Daniel, you know, has been looking very excited, been looking very good, and I get why he's had the coverage that he's had, and that's Nathan's fire to driving him on to to succeed in this fight, because he wants the same sort of coverage Daniel's been getting. And that's and he's had that since he turned pro before he was with Frank, you know, so it's a nice thing to have in the locker for your fighter, to have that drive and that not just winning the British title, not just putting yourself in a position where so many doors can be opened up. I mean, what a time for a British heavyweight, you know what I mean? It's not just a British title on the line, which is a wonderful thing for both the boys. It's the opportunities that can come at the end of it. And, you know, even though you may feel you've not been getting the press lately, you'll get it if you beat him, Nathan. And I've said that from day one, the first day you asked for the fight.
Any more? Yes.
Daniel, why do you regard Nathan as the easiest fight of your career?
I'll prove on the night, you know. The work I've been doing and the work I'm gonna do is gonna prove that on the night, and I'm just ready to get on, you know. This is hurt business, and I know I got what it takes, and I'm looking forward to doing a good job.
Next. Any more? Any more for any more? It would seem not. Frank, final words on what's going to be a great night and a cracking fight, because we don't know, do we?
Well, exactly, you said it. It's going to be a great fight. It's going to be a great heavyweight fight. There's no doubt about that. Dressing rooms are going to both have the same size dressing rooms, and the bottom line of it is this is what boxing's all about. The best fighting the best, and they are two of the best at this stage of the game. And as I say, as a fight fan, I'm really looking forward to it.
Thank you very much for coming today. They'll all do one-on-ones, and those of you who've got cameras will do some interesting face-to-face photographs next.